Hello.
Hello AOS fans.
It's the Agents of Sigmar.
And in this video we're going to tell you everything you need to know about
the Sepulchral Guard.
Now, some might say that I should just let Pete get on with this and just... Maybe not. Pete is our resident Sepulchral Guard expert, but he has primed me with interesting facts to tell you all about them.
So we're going to start right at the beginning. When did they come out?
They came out in the original Shadespire season. I believe they were the first extra warband.
Yeah, one of the very first few extra warbands, and they won the very first clash as well.
They did, on the day they came out.
Yeah.
In suspicious circumstances.
And they were then re-released in the starter box just last year in 2023.
And that is the iteration which we are really talking about because they've had all new cards and they are much better now.
Much better now?
Because they have, of course, recently won the most recent Warhammer World Clash. So I'll let you do the fluff because, as you know, I don't really give a shit about the fluff.
Well, originally the Sepulchral Guard and their fluff kind of fit with the Shadespire theme because they were cursed to remain in Shadespire, which was a city that Nagash destroyed because they were all keeping all their souls for themselves and not giving them to Nagash, and he can be quite pissy when that kind of thing happens. Now, the Shadespire realm is no more, and we're kind of dotted all over the place, so their backstory doesn't make quite as much sense as it used to.
No, because there's one thing that gets more pissy than Nagash, and that is Games Workshop fans when they change the law. But of course it's their law, so they can do what they like with it, 40k fans.
Onto the warband setup, it compromises of 7 fighters.
I could have done that bit.
Oh, yeah.
What are the 7 fighters?
So the 7 fighters are split into 3 categories. You've got 3 petitioners. They're pretty rubbish. They get 2 swords, 1 damage, 1 shield. But they do go to 1 shield now. They used to be 1 dodge.
You've got a few more martial ones. That's the one I'm always really scared of.
So there's the champion.
Yeah.
He has 2 hammers, 2 damage, and has cleave from the offset, which doesn't make him too bad. You've also got the Prince of Dust, who does 2 hammers and 2 damage to start with. He also gets better when he's inspired, much like the champion. He has
tend to
knockback.
overlook the Prince of Dust. I always think other people don't have to worry about him. I mean, maybe it may just be because you do that every time we play him. I think he can't be any good.
Dust. And you've got the Harvester, who's really good in a pinch if you're up against another Horde warband because he's got scything. But when he's inspired, he goes to 3 swords and does 2 damage, which isn't too bad.
It's not too shabby. But the linchpin, of course, is
the Warden. The Warden is pretty much going to be doing nearly all of your big actions and activities because he can either move 2 other fighters or he can bring a fighter back from the dead.
One of the most important things about a warband is, of course, how do they inspire? How do they inspire, Pete?
They inspire by being brought back from the dead.
But how does the Warden inspire? Because he can't be brought back from the dead because he does the bringing.
He does, and he inspires when he brings back 2 fighters from the dead. So once you brought your second fighter back from the dead, you've now got 3 inspired fighters. Because they can keep coming back from the dead over and over and over again, they're very good at jumping on objectives and mostly staying there.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of extra little bits and pieces to help you push back once they arrive, which they never used to have.
No.
So that's quite good. And presumably when they're resurrected, they get a raise counter.
Yes, they do get a raise counter. But now is the part where we talk about what they're good at.
What are they good at apart from giving you the cold shoulder?
Well, apart from that, they're very good at holding objectives. There's a lot of bodies. You can very easily, with the right deck, stand on all 5 objectives in one go with not too much effort.
It's almost impossible to stop them.
But not only that, once some of their key fighters have been resurrected, they can actually get quite offensive themselves. So in a pinch, you can start clobbering people at the same time.
Although I haven't seen that for a very long time because you've been playing them very passively.
With the right deck, you can play them incredibly passively and still score mounds of glory without having to roll a single dice.
Because they just keep coming. So how do you counter them? What are their weaknesses?
Well, they're very bad at staying alive. 3 of the fighters only have 2 wounds, and another 3 of the fighters only have 3 wounds, and they all pretty much either roll just 1 dodge or 1 shield, which means if you can get a good solid punch in, they're probably going to go down like a sack of bones.
Yeah, you can farm them for glory sometimes, but as you've pointed out, you don't really mind that because you can resurrect them back where you want them. But also, when you're trying to kill them, sometimes you miss, and that's basically a wasted activation on your opponent's part because you're just like, oh, you missed. Well, now I'm going to wander off over here and stand on this objective.
They do lack any range attacks whatsoever unless you have a rivals deck that gives them something, and they don't really have any casting either, so there's not a lot of options for ping in their decks.
No, but again, if you're playing passively, then a ranged attack doesn't really matter. So, when we talked about holding objectives, so which decks do you pair them with for Nemesis?
So I think the best decks to take with them is either the Paths of Prophecy, that's my personal favourite, as that's got a lot of hold objectives and a lot of move shenanigans in there.
But of course, Aaron won the tournament with the Rynos locked relics.
Yeah, that again has a lot of hold objective shenanigans. The relics themselves are quite powerful and also help to offset some of their weaknesses. And even things like Malevolent Masks might work quite well with them. You put the masks on and you just have to jump them onto objectives and you're probably going to score a lot of passive glory that way.
Yeah, because you can score quite a lot of objective glory in your own deck, can't you?
Yeah.
And the masks have got a little bit too. So yeah, I can see that working.
You're generally not going to go for anything that's caster related or anything that requires lots of movement, because whilst they have a lot of movement, it's generally in the unoffensive movement of just moving 2 fighters with the warden rather than the charging and attacking kind of movement.
Yeah, they can be a little bit slow, can't they? So you kind of do need. There's a card that gives them +1 move, isn't
There
there?
is, yeah.
Which is really, really useful. Once you've got that on, it's very hard to stop them. But even when you haven't got it on, it's still, even though they're just moving 2 hexes at a time, it can be difficult to catch them up or to stop them, because you go in, you've got to counter them, you have to go after the warden.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, the warden's just pushing everybody behind you. So you turn around, even after you've killed the warden, it's like, oh, but now they're all over the board.
Yeah.
There's not much I can do about it.
And if you can't take the warden out early, they do have some upgrades that help beef him up a little bit, and also a few upgrades that help him to raise more people in one go or to push more people in one go as well, which makes them even more manoeuvrable.
Yeah, so the question I really asked for you, and I was completely surprised not in our notes or anything, is do you think they're going to get a nerf?
I am petrified that they get a nerf before I get to win some glass with them, because I think that the Sepulchral Guard right now are a very strong warband if you like standing on objectives and not rolling dice. So that's our summary of the Sepulchral Guard. Have we left any facts or little nuggets of information out that you think is worth noting? Let us know in the comments below.
Are they not hard, in fact, hard to counter at all? Do you have a secret way of killing off the Sepulchral Guard? Do let me know.
So don't forget to like, subscribe and ring that bell as always.
And do consider supporting us on Patreon if you wish. You've heard the spiel before, but we'd love to have you over there.
So see you soon, maybe in the Underworlds.